Welcome to the Big Bark Podcast. Drew Baressa for Big Bark Media, and here we like to tell the story behind the story, and this story has some hype to it. Not just a little bit of hype, but it's got some new hypes. Joining me today is Julie Rankin.
Hi.
Formerly of New Hype Solutions.
Correct.
And now Hype Solutions.
Yes.
All right, so Julie, we're currently located here in downtown Neenah, and you seem to be around us a lot when we're in the office. She has the office right behind us, just so you guys know. And being from Neenah, what does it mean to you to still be in this area?
It's funny because growing up, I never planned to leave Neenah. I've lived here my whole life. I love it here. I tell everybody who comes to visit, once they come, they're usually not going to want to leave because there's plenty to do here. It's beautiful. I went to Neenah High School, and I have made so many friends. And then as I got older, I just loved the downtown here, and it was one of my dreams is to eventually, at some point in my life, to have a business here. Never thought it would happen, and here I am. So it's pretty exciting.
That is nice. And the thing is, like, I don't know if you chose to be working around us or chose to be in a close proximity to Green's Poorhouse. I'm not sure exactly which one it is.
A little bit of both.
So we are 2 doors down and above from Green's Poorhouse in downtown Neenah. So, I mean, you know, I used to drive through here all the time when going to visit my wife at work, and I always kind of stopped and was like, oh, this is a pretty cool little area like that. So you got to see this all the time and was like, this is where you want to be. And like you said, now where else would you want to be?
Nowhere.
All right, so after Neenah High School, where did Julie Rankin head up?
Well, Julie Rankin started a family right away after high school.
You don't got to refer to yourself in the third person. I can refer to you like that. You can refer to yourself.
Well, after high school, I started my family. I've been married to Joel, my husband Joel, for almost 38 years. Anyway, and
He is, not you.
I started at Kimberly-Clark and worked there for 18 years, and they're located in Neenah as well. And then, well, things changed in 2005. Our whole department got outsourced, and I had to find a new career. Ended up working for a relative in the promotional business, and fell in love with it. I didn't think I would ever enjoy sales. I mean, my dad owned his own business until he retired. My brothers now work for my dad, or took over my dad's business, and they're natural. I love people, but I really didn't think that was what I would enjoy doing. And then when I actually got my first sale, I was kind of hooked.
And so then after Kimberly-Clark, then you ended up going out on your own?
No, actually, I ended up working for a relative. They actually own their own business. To this day, they still own it. And they gave me a chance because there really wasn't anything available at the time, and I needed to find a job because that's just what I do. I like to work. And so I fell in love with it, and after a year, I ended up wanting to get something closer because they were across the lake, and so I ended up working for a company in Appleton for 2.5 years. He actually took me under his wing because I really didn't know what I was doing. So, I mean, there's more to just sales. You have to learn so much about this business, and learning about the creative things, what their customer needs, listening, finding out about their event, learning about just their logo and embroidery and PMS colors and all these different things. And so I learned a lot in the 2.5 years, and then the economy changed in 2008, and all of my customers pretty much had to shut down their marketing budgets, and so I ended up back at Kimberly-Clark, which is kind of funny. And I did that for a while, and then I decided I wanted to start my own business. So in 2010, I started New Hype Solutions, and I worked at Kimberly-Clark for 2.5 years while I grew my business, and then I decided I felt comfortable enough to go on my own. So I quit Kimberly-Clark and pursued my dream of owning my own business, and I did that for 10 years actually. Continued to grow, and this was before Facebook, so it was a matter, to get customers, you had to pick up the phone, you had to email, you had to actually cold call, you had to do, rely on friends and family to, get your name out there. and that's what I did. And then after 10 years, I was kind of in a funk because I was working from home. I had a home office, and I really wanted to. This is what I wanted to do. I wanted to be downtown Neenah, or at least be somewhere outside of my home. And so I was introduced to a friend, a mutual friend, and he was in the same line of work that I was. And they said, well, you two should work together. And so, long story short, we did. We started Evolution last May. We merged our business together. We started working up here with Big Bark, downtown Neenah. So it was kind of like a dream come true. I'm actually out of my home office, where I'm merged with another company. It was everything. It was exciting. Everything was going well. But we both ended up deciding that we both had different interests and different growth opportunities, and it was all good. I mean, we're both very good friends. We just both decided equally, more or less, to go out on our own. So I'm back to New Hype Solutions essentially, but I'm dropping the new. So because I'm really not new anymore.
So I got to know you through your original New Hype Solutions.
Right.
So I was managing a basketball team in Appleton for the Appleton Men's Rec League. And Paul Anderson, who ran that league, very much highly recommended you. And I was like, perfect, we need jerseys. And we got the jerseys, and they were phenomenal. And I think it was Deion Sanders that used to say, if you look good, you feel good.
Right.
If you feel good, you play good. Most of that is true. We looked amazing. We felt amazing. We were awful. So as much as the jerseys were great, you couldn't help us get through our lack of any sort of athletic ability.
Yeah, I can't help with that.
Yeah. So, but we looked great, and that's all that really mattered from my standpoint. So that was kind of a cool thing. And then, later on, I got reintroduced to you as a salesperson for SQB, who we were partners with.
Correct.
And what's cool about that is that's just another full circle thing for us. And then went back to doing the sales, because the sales is in you, but it's the apparel and the stuff you do now that really drives you.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. So you really want to keep doing that kind of stuff, and that's kind of phenomenal. So what is all the products that you work with?
Well, there's a lot of people that do what I do. I mean, there's so many companies that sell promotional products, and they do screen printing, they do embroidery. I guess what sets me apart is I really love working with customers when they need apparel, whether it's jerseys or corporate apparel, online company stores, to help, take time away from like the HR person who has no time to take care of these things. They rely on me to put together the right kind of item for their offerings for their employees, whether it's for a company event, trade shows, whatever it is. They kind of just let me handle it, and I give my suggestions, and I specialize in what's nice and what to steer away from, especially with women. It's very difficult to dress women because we're all different sizes, and I can kind of tell you what's true to size, what's small, what doesn't fit right, what's quality, what's going to really look nice, what's the latest. That's kind of what I love to do. So that's what I would say I'd specialize in.
Yeah. So and you work with, like you said, companies and schools, right? You have a bunch of schools and sports teams like that. Now,
I do.
So when you get like an entire school come in, like you get to create an entire package for them.
Yeah, I do. I do an online store for them, and it's usually like a fundraiser. So they don't have to do anything. I do everything for them. They send out the link. They send it out to the parents. The parents order online. I do everything from packaging it, labeling it, and handing it off to whoever's in charge. All they have to do is hand it out to the parent. If it's for a company, all they have to do is hand it out to their employee. It's pretty much hands-free and easy for whoever I'm working with, and that's why they love that I just take it from start to finish.
So when you do that, you don't have like this menu board. They walk up and be like, "Hey, I'll take the number 5, please." Like you kind of can customize all this stuff too, right? So and you have more than just like a library of like clip art or something like that, right? So you can customize actual logos for that.
Right. So sometimes they already have a logo that they use continuously year after year. So for instance, like Neenah Baseball, Neenah Hoops Club, they use the same design for their clubs every year. But then there's other schools that want to have a unique design every year. And then I usually work with a graphic artist such as maybe Rennell with Big Bark. They'll put together a design for me, and so that kind of it's original and fun. But that's what I love to do, is try to be creative, to come up with different designs that they're going to love. There will be maybe a camp or a fundraiser, something special that's going to be a unique design. And then many times they don't even have an idea of what they want, and they kind of rely on me, and then I come up with some ideas and I send it to them and say, what do you think of this? And then we kind of go back and forth and come up with the right design.
Yeah, and you're saying with like the Neenah Soccer Club and some other things like that keep coming back to you, right? So as much as people like in any business will say, hey, I go to them because their products are great, their service is great. But when they work with someone like you, who they want to work with, right? I mean, so the sales pitch isn't just about the product, it's about you really, and also the business and how you are. So how do you kind of go about that when you meet up with someone and you're like, because I mean, like you're saying to me that you customize everything. So to me already, I'd feel more comfortable being like, hey, she's got with my best interest in mind.
Well, I don't have the same items on every store. So I try to come up with things that I think not only the parents are going to like, but the kids are going to wear and like as well. So I kind of get a little mix of both on the stores. I love to ask questions, and I get suggestions of what they might like. Some don't care about name brands, but we can do the Nike, the Under Armour, the Adidas if they want, or North Face, whatever it is. Or some don't really even care. They just want quality. I don't put anything out there that's, I'll tell them, we don't want to do that, or we'll do this. And it's not about the how do I say this? I want to make sure that it's a mix of quality, or everything is quality, but that it's like we'll offer a high-end item and then something that's available for everybody, because not everybody can afford an Under Armour or an Adidas or something. So we usually do like a Gildan or something to that effect. But
again, that's kind of you're gearing towards everyone, right? You're not.
Yeah.
So I think that's great too. Like, I have kids in sports, and you get some of the products out there, and you're like, well, geez, that one looks great, but I don't want to pay $95 for a hoodie or whatever it is. So to have options,
right,
is phenomenal.
I know all three of my kids played in sports, and it got very expensive very quickly because you get something in every sport that they're in. You can't afford to get an Under Armour quarter zip with every single sport. So I like to be able to offer different price points, and everybody appreciates that. So I'll offer, maybe you're just your regular Gildan, but I might do, an Under Armour or a Nike dry fit shirt, something that's the different price points.
When you get a new group that gets a hold of you and calls you up and it's just like, hey, we need all this stuff in here, how do you really sell them on not only the products, but you and how you work with them? How does that relationship start?
Well, I always insist on meeting with them face to face, because a lot of times, talking over the phone, I just don't really like talking over the phone. I love to meet people face to face. I don't know. I do things so different with my customers. I don't even look at my customers as customers. I look at them as like a new friend that I'm being introduced to, and almost always we become friends. We don't even, when we do meet, we talk about, before we even talk about business, somehow we know someone, or we grew up with someone, we end up being friends before we even start talking business. And then I kind of ask them the main questions about, is it going to be a fundraiser? What is their goal? When does their event start? Do they have a design in mind? I ask the normal questions to get started. And then I get a feel of what have they done before? What did they like? What they didn't like? You have to ask a lot of questions, but mostly listening, because to get to know what your customer wants is you do have to know what questions to ask, but you also have to listen to find out what they want. And then you can suggest, but you always want to do what they want to do. That's the most important thing to me, is listening to my customers, and then finding out a deadline, making sure that you get everything to them in time, that everything is basically in steps. So you kind of get everything is your deadlines of when everything's going to be to them.
Before, you were talking about sales we'll say in the old world, before Facebook and before internet and having to call people and stuff like that. I think you were in a unique place, much as like myself and a lot of other people, where you live that life, but now you can live this current life too with the communication process and all of that stuff. So how do you best communicate with customers? Because it's not just communicate about like what you offer, but what the products really are, because some people just don't understand everything it is that you offer and everything, the difference between sublimation and embroidery and screen print.
Right. So first of all, you want to know what they did before, and then if it worked for them and what didn't work for them. But what I do is I will give them my suggestions on items that are current, that are new, that are quality, that are price budget, and then I offer them different ideas and suggestions in their school colors. I actually put together virtuals once I get the design done, so they can get a better idea of what the items are going to look like, because sometimes they can't really place it on what it's going to look like. So I go out of my way to do that first for them. The other thing I do is we meet. Well, what's really cool actually is because I do talk on the phone, but I actually have my customers, they'll text me. Like I tell them to text me if they have an idea or just a question, anything at all. I have I have customers, this is probably not good, but I actually have customers that text me at night, they'll text me on the weekend, and people tell me that's, you shouldn't allow that. And I'm like, why? I have no problem doing that. If I'm busy, I'll respond to them later, or I'll text them back and I'll say, I'll talk to you on Monday, whatever the situation is. But I feel like my customers like to work with me because I take care of them from start to finish. They always get answers to their questions. They don't have to, wait on me. I don't know, I just come up with the ideas of I explain to them like what embroidery is, if there's an item that should be embroidered versus screen printing or vice versa. Maybe there's sublimation. If they don't know what sublimation is, it's always fun to explain all these things. I actually show them the process. And then it's talking about pricing, how if you do a one-color design, a two-color, how prices change regarding that. People don't always understand what all that means, because like with embroidery, you can use as many different colors with embroidery as you want. The only thing that you get charged with is based on stitch count. With screen printing, it's different, where it's based on how many colors is in your design. So the more colors in your design with screen printing, the more expensive it's going to be. So I try to communicate with my customers on that, give them pricing and say, all right, if you did it this way, it'd be this much, and then they decide. Sometimes they don't really care. They don't, and then others, yeah, we need to stick within a budget. So it's just a matter of asking the right questions, communicating with them, educating them, and then, again, it's just going right back to listening,
I think a lot of it comes back to that, and not just like in sales, in business, but at home. I'm sorry, Heidi, I'll listen to you from now on, I promise. And
that's his wife.
And I was listening before when you said, bumping the table here, when you recommended Renell from Big Bark Media for your graphic need. I also would like to recommend Renell from Big Bark Media for all your graphic needs. Mm-hmm. But for all your apparel needs, I recommend Hype Solutions and Julie Rankin. Julie, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Drew. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you. We'll catch you next time.